So in the previous part 2, I talked about this human resource that I maintained, my former supervisor in the bank. He was a great guy. I'm not going to talk about it so much, but I maintained that relationship. Fast forward to when I published my book. September, I posted about it, shared some snippets on LinkedIn, and he was one of those who came to congratulate me and give thumbs up. For a PhD to give thumbs up to a publication it's a big deal. Meanwhile, the people that came for the book signing, and thanks to my friend back then, because she organized the book signing, a lot of PhDs, even those who were invited from the Igbo Union when I invited them, PhDs commended the book. Now, for PhDs to commend something in publication, it's a big deal. It wasn't a sorry story of my life. No, the book was just a guide, a mini research, where I just dug up research about human psychology and the different stages of my life and the things I could have done differently when I was being abused by my ex. Now remember, January, somebody already told me to see if I could go for PhD in one of the New York City's universities with the models I'd come up with. Then I noticed that I started asking questions on how to do PhD from my PhD friends, and they were telling me, why don't you do code calling? But before that, I had a tete-a-tete brainstorming with a friend of mine. Know the kind of people you have in your life. He's always telling me things that not everybody will tell me. So we sat down on the phone. He told me in Igbo language, anokata anoharia, basically meaning after you've sat for a while, like I'm sitting for a while, you readjust. So I knew I had to pivot. I just said, I need to do my PhD. I want to do my PhD. I mean, he brought some other suggestions. I'm like, no, it's not like I'm not smart. I have all the certifications, PSM1, CSM, ACSM, CSPSM, RTE5, RTE6, Lean Six Sigma, Green Belt, problem solving. There's no certification I did not have for my field. But did I want to stay there anymore? No, because I'd realized that coaching is not for me in America. Like coaching in America is not for me. I'm thinking I need to do a PhD. So I'm in touch with, let me just call his name, Cosmos, the PhD postdoc from Korea who had moved to the US. So I also reached out to him and said, hey, what do I do? Here are my plans. I was thinking of going to Japan because Lean Six Sigma, Agile, of course. But when I brought up the idea on TikTok, somebody said, for mid-level management, I need to know how to speak Japanese. Now I don't speak Japanese. So I had this conversation with Cosmos and he says to me, yeah, between Japan, China, and Korea, Korean is easier to learn. I was like, Now I started watching Extraordinary Attorney Woo, I think it was 2022, or I guess. And I started watching Korean drama. Now, it's not like I was in love with Korea, but I liked, the difference. I'm a third culture individual. I adapt to cultures easily. I was like, not a bad idea. So we talked about PhD. He said PhD, he would not suggest that I pay out of pocket, that I should get a funded program. So I tried different universities. He talked about code calling, emailing professors. But here's the catch. Eventually to him I said, don't you have a professor? He said, yes. Here's my professor's email. And he used to be in charge of the lab. He said, here's the email of the person who now replaced me. And I reached out to them. Eventually, he would send me links to other funded programs, fully funded programs. There was one in Australia that had to do with the environment and IT. There was another one in Canada. I was not interested. I'm not going to lie, I did not even apply for those ones. I reached out to the professor, sent an email to him through my Google Mail. But when I was running my business, some people would send messages through their Gmail and it wouldn't get to me. So I figured, maybe it's Gmail. So I wrote him with my Yahoo Mail, which I'd used to write the lab attendant. And eventually the lab attendant got feedback and said the professor has written them. Thankfully, one of the requirements to do a PhD actually was proof of academic publication, which I did not have. But because I had published a book by the supervision of Dr. S. Suzy, God rest her soul, MSLPC, I stood a chance. So whatever it was that prompted me in June to publish the book was my life setting and taking place. So when you get that urge deep in your soul to do something, especially when it has to do with upgrading yourself, do not take it for granted. You are setting a building block for your future. Stay with me. So it was part of the requirements. I did the screening, I passed the screening, passed the next one, passed the next one, passed the next one, applied admission. Now, another thing about human resource, when I was in the university, Benson Gauser University, I had this registrar. I took him as a friend, he was close. So when I was leaving the school, I made one of the digital posters for him as a gift, and we kept in touch. Each of those times I wanted to go to my master's, I was in touch with him. So he cared deeply about me. Also, my computer science programming professor in 100 level, Tobe, I also kept in touch with him. Those two people eventually would be the references that I needed. Not Cosmos, because Cosmos was an alumni from the school I'm attending now, so they didn't need him now. Thankfully, I was in touch with them, so it was easy for them to give me a recommendation letter. Human resources. In the next part, I'm going to talk about the next process. Stay with me.